Here's the expanded version of The Whispers in the Walls. The Whispers in the Walls. Emma had always dreamed of owning her own home. When she found the old farmhouse at the edge of town, she couldn't believe her luck. The price was almost too good to be true. Sure, it needed some work. The paint was chipped, the floors creaked, and the roof sagged slightly, but to Emma, it felt like a fresh start. The townsfolk were unusually quiet when she told them about her purchase. Some gave her a tight-lipped smile and wished her luck. Others avoided the topic altogether. She chalked it up to small-town eccentricity and threw herself into renovating her new home. Her first night in the house was uneventful. The silence was unnerving, though, as if the house was holding its breath. She shrugged it off, blaming the eerie quiet on the absence of city noise she was used to. But the second night was different. As she lay in bed, she heard faint whispers. They were so soft, like someone speaking from far away. She strained to listen, but the words were indecipherable. Her rational mind assured her it was just the wind sneaking through the cracks in the old walls. She turned over, pulling the blanket tightly around her, and fell asleep. By the third night, the whispers had grown louder. They no longer sounded like wind or pipes creaking. They sounded like voices. Emma? She bolted upright in bed, her heart pounding. The voice had been clear, calling her name, soft but deliberate. She grabbed a flashlight and checked the house, her footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Nothing seemed out of place. Yet, as she stood in the dark living room, the whispers began again, louder this time and unmistakably coming from the walls. In the morning, Emma decided to distract herself by tackling the attic. She found it cluttered with forgotten relics, old furniture, trunks filled with moth-eaten clothes, and dusty boxes. In one corner, she noticed a loose floorboard. Beneath it, she discovered an old, weathered diary. The diary belonged to a woman named Margaret, who had lived in the house decades ago. The entries started innocently enough, describing family dinners, gardening, and little Lily, her playful daughter. But as Emma flipped through the pages, the tone shifted. "Something is wrong with this house," Margaret wrote. "At night, we hear voices. At first, we thought it was animals in the walls, but the voices call our names. They whisper secrets only we know. We tried to ignore them, but they grow louder every night. I feel them watching us, waiting." The final entry chilled Emma to her core. "The walls are alive. They won't let us leave. We tried to run, but the doors wouldn't open. They're hungry. They're always hungry. God help us." That night, Emma didn't sleep. She stayed in the living room with every light on, clutching the diary. The whispers began as usual, faint at first, but building into a cacophony of voices. They called her name over and over, louder and louder, until the walls seemed to pulse with the sound. Desperate to silence them, Emma grabbed a hammer and began smashing at the plaster. Pieces of the wall crumbled around her, revealing hollow spaces within. Her breath hitched when the beam of her flashlight caught something glinting inside. It was a skull. She staggered back, her hammer clattering to the floor. But she couldn't stop. The whispers had turned into screams now, deafening and relentless. She tore at the walls, uncovering more and more skulls, each one staring back at her with empty, hollow eyes. And then the walls began to move. They pulsed like living flesh, oozing a dark, tar-like substance. Hands, bony, skeletal hands, reached out from the spaces she had uncovered, grasping at her. She screamed and ran for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed, the locks unyielding. The house wouldn't let her leave. The next morning, the townsfolk gathered on the dirt road leading to the farmhouse. They watched in silence as the house loomed in the distance, its windows dark and lifeless. "Another one gone," an old man muttered, shaking his head. "Why don't we burn it down?" a young woman asked. "We tried," the man replied. "It doesn't burn. It doesn't let go." Inside, the house grew quiet once more. The walls no longer whispered. They had been fed, and they would wait,